Welcome everybody to this edition of Beers with Bill. Yes, I can't see me. I am recording live in the Middleton Public Library parking lot at 9 o'clock at night in Nova Scotia. It's my pleasure to welcome back to the show Cam Fryer from Royal City Brewing. Cam, welcome back.
Hey there. Thanks for having me back again. Always a fun chat.
It certainly is. I can't read that sign in the background though.
Which one?
Colonel John, yeah.
The one up at the top there?
Yeah.
That's actually just the text of Flanders Fields. A friend of mine actually saw that at a garage sale somewhere. Well, it was like a lithograph that they framed up and it's got it at a garage sale. I thought I want it. I do. So
as for the rest behind you, it looks like a work schedule.
Yeah, that's all the things I'm supposed to do and get done in the next couple of weeks. So we've got quite the backlog with all the reno stuff still underway. Unfortunately, hasn't. We're about 4 months over schedule, and I don't even know how far over budget at this point in time. But still slugging away, trying to get this place turned around.
I was going to ask you how all the renovation work was coming.
It's it's getting there as best I can say. It's really just kind of the finishing stuff that has to go on right now. Most of the construction's all finished now. It's just the accoutrements and things like toilets. We need those. Yeah. But those will be next. But we're getting there. It's I was telling people September 1st, but that's probably not going to happen now. But maybe mid-September is more realistic for us to be actually up and operational.
Yeah. So you've expanded though the tasting room already, right?
Well, no, it's still not open. Yeah, that was so basically we took over the business beside us, their space. They had about just shy of 6,000 square feet there. So our original space was about 3,000 square feet. So we about tripled the business's footprint, which is great. And we kind of split the unit right up the middle. So the whole front is going to be like more hospitality space. And the whole back is more packaging space for us, actually, and fermentation space. But the operations in the back are almost ready to go. All the equipment we needed is now here. But we're just waiting on a couple of little electrical stuff, little electrical things to get ironed out. And then the front is just really waiting on the bar. The guys from Pura Vida Wood Co., who are kind of our neighbors here, are just building the bar in there right now at this very moment, actually. So that's kind of awesome. But otherwise, it's just kind of the finishing touches. We just need to put baseboards and lights in and that kind of stuff. But
okay.
We're getting close.
Yeah. Well, yeah, just a little bit overdue.
We were guaranteed we'd be open for the first beer bus event of the year in June, and we missed that one. So supposed to be the ideal date when we started in January was supposed to be May 1st, but that probably was optimistic even in January. But it was categorically supposed to be open by the first beer bus on June 7th. That didn't happen.
Now, did you make the mistake of not specifying which year that was supposed to be?
I did. I at this point in time, I think that's good. People ask when you're supposed to be open. I still say May 1st, and they look at me a little confused, like 9 months May 1st. I'm like, no, 3 months ago May 1st. But
did you guys keep your current tap room running while you were doing the reno, or
it's all closed?
That sucks.
Yeah. So we built a plywood box around the front door. That's the beer box, basically with a fridge in it, and an unlucky person for the last 8 months. And that's really all we've got in terms of on-site sales at the moment. So it's been a lot of difficulty with trying to keep supply or stuff in the building for that, because we always try and keep everything refrigerated. So there's a whole lot of running back and forth to our warehouse to pull product over a couple of times a day, every day. But we're hoping to have that all ironed out before the busy season started, but that also didn't go. So it's been a whole lot of driving back and forth. But It's
So I could ask you, what is the most challenging thing you're going through right now? But it sounds like we're already covered that.
yeah, it's really this one. For a while when they were doing most of the work, we were kind of brewing and canning evenings and weekends. So the guys would be in, the construction guys would be in from 8 in the morning until about 4 in the afternoon, and then we'd start at, our guys in the back would start at about 4, and we'd be there till after midnight most days. Unfortunately, I was pulling hours on both sides of that when I was in at 8 and still here at midnight, just about every day. So I got pretty tired after about 5 months of doing that. The guys were getting a little, not unjustifiably, grumpy about the nights as well. Especially when we were telling everyone we'll be done by May, and then it's June and we're still here at midnight. They were, it got a little. So that was probably the hardest part. But all the really messy construction stuff's finished now, so we're back on kind of a somewhat normal work schedule anyway. But there's still surprises where, hey, the electricians need to turn the power off all day, so we're not doing anything today. We find that out at 8:15 in the morning when everyone's kind of standing there about to start a brew. It's like, nope, go home, come back tomorrow, or we'll mop or we'll clean the warehouse again. But that's the scheduling has been probably one of the biggest hiccups, just trying to work around the construction and deal with the surprises. But
I can well imagine. So what is your beer of choice right now?
From our stuff, or what I'm drinking right now?
I'll leave that to you, which way you want to go.
All right. Well, I figured we don't have anything new on right now. Again, just because our production schedule's been kind of just all over the darn place, and trying to keep beer in the main blends we have in stock has been a bit of a challenge for the last few months. So I didn't really have anything new to offer the chat this time. But I figured everyone's kind of had our beers in the past through this forum. So my favorite beer that we're drinking, that we're pouring right now, I gotta say, is I've really been liking the Goldie in the summer. It's been really good, really refreshing. Really, that tropical fruit has been my jam for the last little bit. So I've been drinking a fair bit of that, as long as we have it in stock. That is. But today I'm actually drinking a passion fruit gose from Perrin Brewing down in Michigan. So there's kind of not pink passion fruit gose, which I kind of like. Everyone kind of likes pink beer right now, but I kind of like just the OG styling on that one. It's actually it's quite good. Perrin's pretty good brewery out in Grand Rapids. Pretty good brewery.
Did you make a trip down there, or is that available at the LCBO?
Well, I was down there briefly a week and a half ago, so I grabbed it out of a Meyer shelf down there.
Okay.
My wife's family is all from Michigan, so we were down there for a weekend a couple weeks ago.
Now here, I thought maybe you'd had an opportunity to go brew with somebody somewhere else.
No, not at this point in time. Fortunately, I think that's one of the biggest kind of, I guess I won't even say short-term implications, but one of the medium-term implications of the whole the last couple of years in COVID is that all of or so much of the collaborative nature of this, the community nature of the industry has kind of disappeared. Just in that it's a lot harder to get everyone together, or people together. It's a lot harder to it's not that it's not doable. It's deliberate effort right now to organize stuff like that. And it's, on my side of things, I just don't have that energy to put to those efforts right now.
Can you imagine going from 8 in the morning till midnight? That would not leave you a lot of energy to do that type of work.
No, but no, it's cool. I just think just outside of myself, even around the industry, and that I think people have become a lot more just insular as a result of this, and it just feels like it's a bit more of an effort to try and organize some of those things. That being said, though, Maddie, our brewer, went down to Good Lot not too long ago, and him and Brooks down at Good Lot made a saison that we will hopefully be able to launch on our patio, or when our tap room opens. We haven't been putting that on, so that is a collab that we have done recently. But that one's a little easier. Good Lot's only about half an hour up the road from us, so makes it a little easier. But yeah, so if that one will be packed, 'cause that'll just be on site here. Only got about 3 kegs of it, so it won't last too long. But it's
Yep.
nice to do something there. I think the original plan that we had going out was we are going to try and do a collab with 10 or 15 other brewers in the area when we opened the tap room. It's kind of good we didn't, because we pushed it back so many times now. We have a whole lot of bad beer.
Yeah,
But
I hear you.
maybe for a grand opening some point down the line, that there, if not an official, the actual opening day, if we have an actual big opening party, we'll try and still make that happen. But yeah, we've been talking to some of the guys that were.
So I've been, now that the world's going back slowly to a new normal, I've actually been going out to a couple of breweries and doing the show live from there. It sounds like you and I need to have that happen probably sometime in November.
Yeah, I think so. That'd be good.
Yeah. So I'll be in touch when I get back in Ontario, and we'll figure out a date on that.
Yeah.
So
that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Be nice and show everybody all the changes that have happened.
Yeah, I mean, for the folks who have been here years ago, it's going to be night and day. It really is. We're really stoked to see how the space, basically how it develops and how it goes. It's on the hospitality side, it's always been one of our challenges. We just didn't have the space to actually keep people in the place.
Yeah.
And now we do, which is great. And we can offer, we have an event space that people can book out as well, which is what people always kind of wanted to or asking us for quite a while. And we just always had to say, no, we just can't do that kind of thing. Based on the type of license we had, we were only allowed to serve until 9 o'clock. This is all pre-COVID, of course, but those laws have changed a little bit now. And now we're getting a different, we're getting a tied house license, so we'll be able to stay open till 1. So a lot of changes with that. So on the hospitality side, that's great. On the production side, it's going to make like everything better in the back of our house, just in terms of having space to actually work and not have to like tear down everything every day that we package. That's going to be really, really, really cool. We we've kind of got used to the fact that to make things work in our space, it involves a lot of like lengths of PVC pipe and zip ties just to make things work. And now we're at the spot where we can actually we can get non-custom built solutions to shoehorning equipment around corners.
Yeah.
We can actually buy like equipment that is designed to do what we want it to do and not have to try and fit it into the space. We can actually just put it in the space and fit the space around it now, which is going to be great. Really good for the guys. All of us that have to work on the line every now and again. Me too. But it's going to make things quite a bit easier for everyone. So I'm really looking forward to that side of it, just because I think it's going to make the experience of working here a little bit easier for everyone involved.
So have you, because I haven't looked, are you in the LCBO?
Yeah, we still have Bootleg and X in the LCBO, and X and Hibiscus and Smoked Honey are still in grocery stores.
Oh, wow. So that's working out well?
It's working. I think
It has its challenges.
Many times we've been over my not so humble opinions on working with the LCBO in past meetings, so don't need to reopen old wounds. But the LCBO is the necessary evil in the province. I think as a brewer, an Ontario-based brewer, you really ignore it at your peril.
Yeah, that's probably a good statement on that part. Yes. So, and the grocery store trade, how's that? Has it been expanding or?
It's actually been incredibly consistent for us, which is great. We haven't seen, we sell pretty much this month in, month out, roughly the same amount of volume at grocery stores, which is good considering haven't really been pushing anything for the last little while, just because our production's been so slow or so inconsistent. So we've been really kind of like just hesitant to push too hard, in case we start getting stuff that we can't follow up on or can't meet. yeah, grocery is incredibly consistent. The only real problems with grocery is that they have almost no refrigerated storage,
Yeah.
um, especially for beer. So we're really loath to send some of the or try and get more beer into grocery that would absolutely need refrigeration. So some of the stores will have like beer in fridges on display, but in the back it's not refrigerated. So it's that's kind of a little caveat with us at grocery. We just don't want to again go too far, go too hard with stuff that we know isn't going to be as good if it is not refrigerated.
Yep, I understand that. I worked in the meat trade for a long time, and that was a hard education for every one of my drivers. Do not leave it on the back dock. Make sure it goes where it's supposed to go. I don't care what they say to you.
Yeah, that's it. It's it's a little bit more, beer's a little more forgiving than meat, but
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying. It's like you don't know how they're going to handle it if it's just sitting in a warehouse.
that's it. Once it
First-
once it's offsite, or once they sign that paperwork, it's all on them, right?
Yeah.
And again, that really just depends on, same with the LCBO, it just depends on who the store is and who's
Yeah.
doing the work in the store and how that management is handled. Some of them are great, some of them are not.
So what do you think's the most interesting change that's happened in the craft beer industry because of COVID?
That's a good question. I was talking to Brad up at Wellington not too long ago about this, and they're pretty exhausted, and we're pretty exhausted, and trying to say, okay, why are we exhausted? Like, what's going on here? And we're thinking about it, like, so everything that we had committed time and resources and energy to prior to COVID has now come back. So like mainly from a engagement and an event standpoint, all the festivals, the summer stuff, the beer for people's weddings, the running around jockey boxes and that kind of stuff, that's all come back. But when that went away, we replaced all that with home deliveries primarily and farmers markets for us and Wealth Beer, that our local beer brewers group. And so we lost that one kind of thing that we spent energy and people and time putting together, and replaced it right away with daily beer delivery and doing all these farmers markets on the weekends and like online stuff. And this summer, all the pre-COVID stuff has come back, but all the post-COVID stuff has continued. And so we're sitting here constantly going like, why don't we have any people to go work? Like, this is me saying this. Why am I at St. Jacobs at 10 to 6 in the morning right now, working at a farmer's market for the next 11 hours? And so because it's the same day as Steam Whistle Roundhouse Festival, and we've got home deliveries to do, and we've got another farmer's market, and we just don't have enough people to take care of all that. And so I think that's kind of one of the big things is kind of just figuring out where, for us anyway, I think figuring out where things are going to land going forward, because we're in this kind of transition phase this summer again, where we're still trying to do everything we did for the last 2 years to make things work, plus trying to bring things back on from the before times, and just kind of seeing how all of that meshes together or where it all settles out. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on outside of the brewery right now, back in the industry, like in the peripheral things to the industry, all the promotional and the marketing kind of things that we're always engaged in. So I'd say that's kind of one of the more interesting challenges we've been faced with, is just trying to figure out how to balance all of that and pay attention to all of it.
Yeah, I think we're all struggling through that. What does the new normal really look like?
Yeah.
And we don't know.
Yeah.
How's the balancing of the bar trade happening with kegs versus cans?
Yeah, we're starting to see a little bit like the draft come back now for sure. But even pre-COVID, we had kind of started to really stop pushing licensee business. We basically had, if we were in a situation where we have licensees we know and liked, we're happy to work with them, but we'd really stopped kind of chasing that business. We were finding that it was becoming very much a race to the bottom with new licensees, in that with, you know, a place where you don't have a history, where people are willing to take on new breweries, there's generally a couple of things that happen. They involve keg deals and or forever chasing accounts payable, or our accounts their accounts payable, our accounts receivable. So we were finding ourselves, you know, we'd push out to try and get in more licensees, and we'd wind up with less revenue. So we're technically sending more beer out the door, but we're yielding less and less and less money for each of those liters to go out the door. So even pre-COVID, we started kind of pulling back a little bit on licensees and not really trying to grow that. Again, when you, like, you know, there are, you know, a lot of price war, not wars, that's the wrong word. There are a lot of pricing, what am I trying to say? Sorry, it's been a long day again. There's aggressive pricing, I would say, that some guys are doing right now to try and get more brand exposure, and I get that totally. But that becomes the expectation on a lot of cases. That's the first thing you're talking about when you walk into a new licensee is, well, how little is your keg going to cost me? And a couple of reasons we weren't too keen on following that or playing that, because I think our product's worth something and I don't want to give it away. Even if it's beer at the door, it doesn't really do much for us if no one's valuing it, if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. Totally understand that part.
And then, you know, even with, you know, with licensees, depending on, again, the licensee, there's always a tap handle, glassware, uniforms, coasters, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera involved. And again, it depends on the licensee. There's one chain that maybe you've heard of. I won't name them, but they expect quite a bit of stuff to be dropped off with a 30-liter keg, pretty much guaranteeing that we're losing about $25 a keg to drop off with them. They want a tap handle. They want to give it out to the person who who finishes the keg. They happen to give coasters out as well. So it's like, and they need glassware for all their stuff. I'm not like all this stuff is fine, but it just adds up.
Yeah.
And you know, the margins on draft beer are not huge for the brewers, especially if they're in a spot where you're trying to play a pricing game. This is all a very long-winded way of saying we aren't really focusing as much on licensee and draft business outside anymore. And that was kind of a conscious decision we'd made prior to COVID. Yeah. That we were going to try, if we were going to push volume, we're going to do it through our front and through the LCBOs. Now that was not a terribly good decision pre-COVID because COVID happened, and then we just stopped pushing volume through the LCBO. But again, everyone stopped pushing volume at licensees for a couple of years too. So yeah, it's you know, trying to see where all that lines up. I would say, to get back to your original question after my 20-minute rambling here, it's coming back. The business that we have at licensees is starting to come back, and the draft is starting to come back to the fore. It was cans for quite a while, just because I think a lot of guys were kind of gun shy to buy more kegs, and then have them, you know, get shut down again and have the kegs go bad and have to have the conversation with us about whether we're crediting them the keg that they can't sell and this, that, and the next thing. So yeah, I would say draft has made a pretty good recovery for us from where it was like even 6 months ago. We are producing a fair bit more draft than we have in the last few years.
Now, Mike hasn't joined us tonight, but Mike usually wants to know how much did you see an increase in sort of like when you were doing home delivery, people buying kegs for their own kegerator?
Quite a bit. When we first went to home delivery, we, you know, talking about not valuing your product, but we had a lot of draft inventory, and everyone did. When we went to home delivery, and you know, we knew pretty quickly that most of this is going to go down the drain unless we do something. So we put our kegs on a pretty cheap, until we cleaned out a lot of the inventory. This is back in 2020. Yeah. And yeah, I would say a lot of people had doing something to pour beer in their own house. So we sold actually a fair bit of that. Not all, by no means all of it. We wound up dumping a lot of beer in July of 2020, but we did actually sell a fair bit of draft. I would say several hundred liters a month. I would say, which is pretty good. Which is
and that's staying pretty consistent even now with the world sort of reopened.
no, it's definitely petered back now. It's definitely. Yeah. I don't know if we put our 30s on sale for $90 again, maybe we'll see another uptick. But it has definitely slowed back down. Yep. I would say like through our front of house, off the top of my head, we usually sell a couple 100 liters a month in takeaway. I don't think that hasn't changed dramatically. So that was pre-COVID. We'd probably sell 400 liters worth of takeaway kegs a month.
Yeah.
That's probably similar to where it was then now. But we had to say for the early part of COVID, it was busy. We were pulling a lot of kegs out on the truck to go to people's houses.
So how are you managing the supply chain issues?
Upping our prices. That's pretty much the only way we can manage it right now. We, the big one that has been a big pain. Well, renovation stuff notwithstanding, let's just forget about that for the minute. The big like crunches we've had so far have been cardboard. The lead times right now on getting like boxes is insane. We were out of branded boxes. We were out of branded trays, like can trays, for about an 8-week period in the spring this year. It's just because the lead time on an order went from 2 weeks to 14, and no one told us. None of the companies are telling us because they're all too busy trying to get product themselves and trying to get stuff out the door still. So that I would say is the biggest one that's like got us, is just the unavailability or the limited availability of like paperboard. Aluminum we're pretty good on. With our warehouse, we always order our cans with a truckload, so we're usually sitting on a fair bit of aluminum inventory, and we have those forecast out a year in advance, so we know we're going to get it. Or, well, we're as close to sure as we're going to get it as we can be. Not to mean that they never delay them, but so we generally carry a fair bit of aluminum inventory at any point in time. And like the lesson through COVID has taught us that if we couldn't have canned during that point in time, we would have been done, right?
Yeah.
So making sure that we always have that access to that to cans is a big one, just for my own peace of mind. Ingredient wise, we haven't really come up against too much in terms of limited availability yet. The biggest problem there is pricing. Malt in particular has just gone through the roof this year. It is like, we were used to seeing kind of maximum 10% price increases year over year. And that was rare, a 10% price increase. Malt doubled since January in price, effectively doubled. So we're, a bag of Alberta 2-row used to be $27 a bag. For us, it's about 43 or 44 now. And that's like base. Most of the malt we use is Pilsner, and we're paying about $57 a bag for Pilsner right now. And pre-COVID, that was about 30, 31. So
yeah,
that's a pretty dramatic difference in a year. The price of malt. Those numbers are off the top of my head, so.
No, I was going to ask you about malt, because that's the one I know everyone has talked about. This malt pricing has just been insane this year.
Yeah, it absolutely has. Hops haven't, we just did our contracts again not too long ago, about a month and a half ago now. Prices hadn't really gone up too much in hops, just a little, like 50 cents a pound here and there. It wasn't that one was, I was expecting to be quite a bit different, but that was okay. Yeah, it's really just the price of malt that's gone crazy. Yeah. and energy costs. I mean, we are really seeing the increase in shipping to us.
Yeah.
As well. A lot of the stuff that comes, I think some of that malt that we're bringing in from Europe, and that you're seeing that energy price built into the price of the malt. But that is definitely that's definitely one. Oh, the other kind of tragic one too is we used to buy a fair bit of things in terms of fridges and components and jockey box parts and umbrellas and stuff from UBC. It's Ukrainian brewing supplies. And they sent out an email in March saying, sorry, we're not able to support you anymore. Our factory was hit by a missile. So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, that's
all
very
you can do is
unfortunate.
kind of like laugh at that one. Not like, I don't think it's funny. It's just like exasperating. But like,
Yeah.
what the hell do you do in that case? We can't do anything anymore because our building has been blown up. Yeah.
So you're handling things well, but prices are going up and there's nothing you can do about it.
That's pretty much it. And we, I really wanted to try and resist putting our pricing up as long as we could, but we had to pop our price up a little bit just because everything is more money now.
Yeah. What's the future look like?
I'm really excited for it. I think honestly, like it's just a case of as soon as we get this renovation done, I think everything in our brewery's life gets better. So that's always a good thing. It's always good to have that to look forward to. So I'm pretty rosy right now. The feedback from folks coming through the beer box, as we're calling it now, our little plywood front of house, has all just been constantly like, when are you going to be finished? And it's like as soon as we can. So I think there's a lot of folks in our local area here who are really looking forward to us being back in action, and I think that's a reason for optimism and to celebrate. I'm really looking forward to that in particular. Again, the whole thing kind of with our goal here is that we want to be able to make sure that our product is as good as it possibly can be to the person drinking it. And the longer that we control that, the more sure of that we can be. So being able to serve a lot more of our stuff ourselves is actually pretty exciting for us because we can be that much more sure that the people that are coming in or visiting us are getting good product. And unfortunately, we can't make that claim at the LCBO or even at licensees as much. We've seen the keg that was holding up the grease trap come back from licensees in the past. That look like they've been through a grease interceptor. They're like, oh, I hope that was after you emptied it that you did that, not before. But we don't know. Or you see the kegs that someone told me. Couple of weeks ago that and I freaked out a little bit. What was it? This couple of weeks ago. This is back in like April. Someone told me that they had just had a porter of ours at a licensee, and I went, like it's April or May, and like porter was done in like we last brewed that in like January. Like they're just tapping that keg now. It turned out it was our Baltic porter, which we had just released. So that's okay. I wasn't thinking porter. I was thinking Baltic porter is a lager. It's not porter. But anyway, but the fact is that happens occasionally where you find out someone's just tapped something that they've had for 6 months, and you go, Kyle, go down there, get that keg back, give them something else. And it's just that case that unfortunately we don't have any real control over how our product's handled after it leaves our facility. And so being able to get a little bit more, again, I don't want to sound like we're complete control freaks, but it's just like, I'd like to know that the stuff we're putting out in the world is cared for and at its best when it's served. And it's a lot easier for us to do that when it's happening at our facility.
I hear you. Troy, every so often I would have to go, hey, Troy, stop buying for a few days because like we've got too much inventory and the beer's going to sit too long, and not good representation of the people who have brewed it.
Yeah. And honestly, that is appreciated. Like it really is. I'd rather, Wooly, for example, they have a standing, just send us a 50 a week. Awesome.
Yeah.
And when they call and say, don't send us a 50 this week, that's actually better because I know that they're not just accumulating inventory that's sitting there. And people are people, they're in a hurry, they go and grab the keg and throw it on. It might not be the oldest one.
Yeah.
Right. And I've done that in the past too, where you're just in a hurry and there's the keg I'm looking for and throw it in the truck. And it was too bad. Like it was the one that was kegged yesterday, and we still have the previous one from the previous batch sitting there. And you just don't see that. So again, that's actually appreciated. When, you're not bringing too much stuff in that might be going bad.
So I have a curiosity question. How do you decide which beer festivals that you are going to go to?
Experience and proximity. Those are the two, I would say. When we make those decisions, we're very loath to go to new beer festivals now, or ones that we have been to in the past and didn't really like. So typically our kind of decision-making tree goes, is it in Guelph? Yes, then we have to do it. Is it in KW? Okay, we're probably going to do it. Who is it? And if there's a couple of promoters that are involved, then the answer is no. And that really is just because of past experience. Outside of kind of Guelph, KW, Hamilton, who's putting it on? And if that helps make the decision. So generally anything around like the Roundhouse Festival in Toronto, love going there, love doing that one. And it's mainly just because they're well run, they're well organized, it's an enjoyable experience. If they're not, it's not. So, knowing enough of the promoters now that put these things on, we can kind of make a decision based on that.
How far afield have you gone this year?
We haven't really gone that too far. Toronto probably the furthest, and down over in Hamilton for Because Beer. We've done 2 or 3 over in KW. Yeah, that's probably the furthest we've gone. Is just Toronto. We didn't go up to the Sessions Muskoka. Just decided that was too far this time. Just didn't have the stuff, the wherewithal. We went to furthest we've been. We went to one in Ottawa. 5 years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago, hard to remember, 2018, 2017. So yeah, that was the furthest bit. It wasn't Bose, no, it was, we sent beer to Bose before, but we didn't actually go and do that. Who put that one on? I can't remember off the top of my head. It's clearly memorable. But yeah, it was Ottawa. We have poured at Bose Oktoberfest in the past, but we didn't pour it. We just sent them there.
Who's your favorite new up and coming brewer?
Favorite new up and coming brewer? That's a good question. Trying to think of stuff I've had recently that I like. I don't generally tend to run out and buy or see a whole bunch of new guys stuff. I mean, I usually keep unless I'm in Michigan, I usually keep the beer I'm drinking fairly local. So I mean, I was like Short Finger stuff. I really like when he comes out with some of the new stuff. We're bringing some of that. Brooks out at Good Lot. I think he's pretty. Brooks is a good dude, and he's a good brewer as well. And I like the beer he makes. And the guys at Block 3, that's the other guys who I typically drink. I'm trying to think of who's what I had recently that I really liked. Yeah, it's a tough question. Leave that one with me for a minute. Let me come back and think about that one.
That's fine. You can think about it for a bit. How has community building been going in your, because I mean, you guys were very community oriented from day one.
Mm-hmm.
How's that been going for you?
It's good. I think it's I think working to reestablish a lot of the initial links that we had, because again, everything shut down for so long, and all the things that the groups that we worked with, and the kind of the overall like push in a lot of those areas really just took a back burner, or like backseat for everybody the last 2 years. And it's good to kind of start to see some of those networks come back to life a little bit now. We're kind of changing up how we deal with, or how we approach a lot of the stuff now. And you know, to be completely honest, it didn't get off the ground quite as well as we had hoped to this year. Again, just I'm gonna keep blaming it, but the renovation stuff just did not get done on the pace that we wanted it to. And so it really just took a lot of the momentum away from all the other things we were trying to start up. Just having to kind of constantly cancel and push back collab dates or brew dates with groups and events. So we've definitely kind of not been as successful in that area this year as we would have liked to have been. Part of what we were trying to do is change up how we handled them a little bit, and rather than kind of like run around to 12 different groups in the city every week or every month doing a beer with them, we're trying to like pick themes for quarters and work with several groups within that quarter to try and all promote various different things with each other. One of the things we did actually manage to do was we got with the Compost Queens of Guelph. They're an organization based down the ward here. We built a community composter out behind the brewery, which is kind of cool. It's about 15 feet long and 3 or 4 feet wide, and it's got a built into a hill behind the brewery. And the idea being that, you know, local folks and us can dump some of our spent grain or some of their compost or food waste in it, and then it's just open compost for, you know, several weeks or months later. The compost is up for whoever wants to grab it. It's, you know, planting soil and garden soil at the on the other side. So that was something we actually managed to get done, which is actually kind of exciting and encouraging. There's a big structure kind of behind the brewery now that with all that stuff in it, accessible from York Road. So if you're coming by down by the brewery, should be able to see it at the back. It's not small, but
No, doesn't sound small.
That was one we were able to get done. But yeah, again, it's just unfortunately a lot of our attention has been otherwise focusing on other things at the moment.
Well, doing that major renovation would definitely occupy the bulk of your time.
It's taken a lot of the time and a lot of brain space. I think that's the real problem, is that everyone's kind of just getting sucked in and ground down by the timing on it, and just the amount of things we kind of have to worry about is you know, what are they sanding drywall over right now, and what should it not be covered in drywall dust if it's at all possible.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because that just all the things that pop into my head is like, oh my God, you guys didn't tell us you were going to sand drywall today.
Yep.
And we decided on open fermentation. Yes.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing. Literally, it's, you know, we're having a canning run and the mason showed up to cut the new back door in and starts his concrete saw up, and we've got cans flying off the line, right? Like, oh
my gosh, yes,
stuff like that. And they don't ever think about that stuff because why would they have? They don't have to. Their job is to cut holes in walls, not to put beer in cans. But it's difficult to get them all going at the same time, or making sure that everyone's paying attention to what other people are doing.
So what are you doing to relax?
There hasn't been much of that, I would say. Yeah.
I can imagine there hasn't been. You're going to be looking so forward to that being done.
Yeah.
And being reopened, aren't you?
It really is. It's going to make a really big difference in a lot of folks' mental states around here. I think mine especially. Yeah. But seeing that, getting it open and getting just able to have our space be our space again. I think that's the big one for me. It's just sharing is good and all, but I'm ready to not have hard hats on and see contractors in the place anymore.
I hear you on that. So how are you getting prepared for staffing when you reopen?
We've actually been fairly good with that so far. We're anticipating having a lot less pickup than we did. We actually we've hired several new folks in the last couple of weeks, just in anticipation of getting the spot open. We hired our kitchen manager. Her first day is on Friday this week. So so she's on board. She's going to build out her team pretty much right away. But we were actually kind of surprised because you're hearing all this stuff about, you know, no one's applying for jobs in hospitality anymore. It's very difficult to find people. And to a degree, I think it definitely is. But I was kind of taken a little bit by surprise by how much pickup we had or how many applications we had for the positions we posted, which is great. So far anyway, knock on wood, we haven't had a whole lot of difficulty bringing people in. You know, as a you know, we'll always wind up seeing how everyone works out and how people work out. Maybe they won't last or don't want to stay terribly long. Maybe they want to move around a little bit more. We'll see how that all shakes down once things get open. But so far, knock on wood, we've been actually pretty lucky there. We actually got to, like, you know, pick people for the last couple of rounds, which previously we hadn't been able to. It's like whoever walked in the door and showed up for the interview, because it's probably only one person, they got the job. And that's not to say we didn't get good people, because we did, but it was nice to be actually back in a spot where we can actually pick the best person or best people of the group. So that was that was a little refreshing. You know, I've been talking to a bunch of other folks in all kinds of different industries, and it seems to me like the new thing is like people just not showing up for interviews, and it's like this is kind of constant and common across the board. And we first started noticing this maybe like 4 years ago. We posted one of our canning guy jobs 4 years ago or so. We had 5 interviews booked and 3 people showed up. I'm like, what the hell? That's weird. And then that's just the norm now. And that's a hard one for me. And maybe I'm older than I should be in this, but like, if you go to the trouble of applying for a job and you go to the trouble of like answering your phone and booking the interview, why wouldn't you show up? Like, you don't want the job. That's fine. Don't say you're coming.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying you got to come in here and work for us. If you don't want to, that's on you. That's up to you. But if you say you're showing up for an interview, why wouldn't, even if you don't want the job, show up for the interview and find that out, right? Like, yeah. Anyway, that seems to be, and that's not just us or even in beer. It seems a lot of folks, other folks I talk to that hire people regularly all find the same thing. It's just, you know, you get 40 to 60% attendance at interviews now. And just the phone, you know, no one calls and say their car broke down or their dog ate it. It's just, you never hear from them again. Yeah. That's kind of weird for me. It's just, if you don't want the job, don't take it, or don't take the interview. No one's forcing you. But just saying you'll be there and not showing up at all and just complete silence. That's a weird one for me. But
my friend who is manager of a McDonald's, they won't even show up for their shift. Like, they'll go to the interview, you'll hire them, you'll schedule them, and they don't show up. Mm-hmm. No phone calls, nothing. They just don't show up and don't respond. And so he came to the conclusion there was a whole bunch of young people who had died. We just didn't know about it.
Maybe. Could be. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not really in this place where I think people should be happy to have a job or anything like that. It's like, no. You don't want to work there or don't want to work here. No one's forcing you to, but just don't waste our time and don't waste yours. Like, you filled in a resume, you wrote a cover letter. Like, why would you go to that trouble if you had no intention of taking the job? Yeah. That's kind of my question about it anyway. It's just seems to be just a waste of everyone's time. Yeah.
Cam, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. And I will be in touch and schedule something for, like I said, we'll talk around November sometime. Sure. And get after you've got everything open, and then people can see what's going on, and you and I can do it there from the brewery, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great. We can do a little walking tour around with the camera and show where things are, or we could do an in-person one, invite the whole crew down, folks down.
Well, we can try that too and see how many people would come out to that.
Yeah. So the in-person Q&A.
Thank you for giving us the gift of your time tonight.
Absolutely. Happy to. Always fun.
Thanks a lot, Cam.
Take care, and enjoy the rest of the Hollies out in Halifax or out in Nova Scotia there, and Safe travels back home.
Thank you.